Hi everyone, I'm Jossif and welcome to the Box of Inspirations show. I'm glad to introduce today's guest, Christina Jones. Christina is a digital marketer who's helping businesses to sell more online. She has been doing this for over 15 years and has a Google AdWords certified team. So Christina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I always that makes me feel so old. 15 years in the world of internet. It makes me like a pensioner of like the digital era.
Probably one
I
of
started young.
Yeah, probably one of the more experienced one, but I think that's an advantage. So why not?
Yeah.
So are you still, by the way, are you still based in the UK or have you moved to Spain? Because I think you told me that you would do that, right?
Yeah. So it's really exciting. I'm actually recording this today, sat here in the UK, and I'm commuting back and forth, just getting all the sort of final arrangements with. Actually, the business is fairly simple, but it's kind of taking my horses with me and packing up the house and stuff that's taking a bit more time. But probably by the time this is live online, I'll be in Spain full time, which I can't wait. Sunshine.
Yeah, I can imagine. But besides the sun, what's the first thing that you thought of when you went to Spain? What's the first thing that caught your attention?
I think a better quality of life. So I think I've spent a long time working really, really hard on my business, and with digital, you spend a lot of time in front of the computer. And although I've got horses and that gives you a bit of outdoor time, I'm really looking forward to like being able to go for like a swim at lunchtime and go to the beach. I want to learn to stand up paddleboard and just spend a lot more time outdoors, really. So, and lucky having a business that is, well, it's a big change because I'll have gone from having worked in an office with like my team alongside me to suddenly, certainly in the short term, be working from home and everyone working virtually. And so I kind of doing it a little bit backwards, really. I'm sort of like, so about 15 years in, I'm getting rid of the office and so kind of downsizing. Well, downsizing in terms of overheads, but growing the business. So.
And moving to Spain, having the sun with you, that's a perfect move to a perfect way to go. And in this interview, we will focus on Facebook ads and retargeting. But before we dive into that, tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I had a really strange background for digital marketing. I actually started off studying veterinary medicine. So, nothing at all to do with computers. And so I'm good. I can milk a cow. I can stitch you up if you're a back alley brawl. But here in the UK, we're pretty lucky that education, there's a lot of help at university level. It's not like the US. And you had a student loan which would cover your living expenses. And I spent my student loan buying a horse, which like you do. And then I had this horse to pay for and my rent and food to pay for, and I spent all my money. So I started off with an eBay store, which was, my kind of first kind of go into the world of online, which kind of paid for me and the horse. And then I quickly found that I was finding it far more interesting what I was doing outside of university and what I was doing like during 9 to 5. I sort of jumped ship, really. And all the way kind of through my career. So I've been in digital marketing now for over 15 years, but I've also had like real world businesses as well. So I've had, physical retail store. I've had a wholesale company, and I've still got an e-commerce business now, and that kind of gives me a little bit of a different perspective, because it's not just all about. To me, there's a big danger in the world of online. Like I know that I will attract more attention online living in Spain, and putting up nice photographs on Instagram, like from the pool and all that kind of thing, than I would if I put a picture up of me stood in my warehouse surrounded by real product. Because it's kind of, so sometimes the real world businesses aren't as sexy as the whole kind of online work from anywhere. So while I'm kind of embracing the sun, it comes with just a kind of practical background of real real kind of basic business stuff that, you know, you need to buy things and sell them at more than you paid for them to make a profit, which sometimes in the crazy world of online gets kind of forgotten about.
A big amount of experience. And I think people will tell in this interview that you have the background that you have, and having e-commerce sites and working with Amazon. I can imagine how you can apply that knowledge and together with what we will talk about today, which is Facebook ads and retargeting. So tell us a little bit, real quick here, what retargeting is and why it works so good.
Yeah, sure. So retargeting advertising is a way of advertising to people that you've already got some sort of relationship with. So they've either visited your website, you've got their email address, you've got their phone number. And I find a really easy way to explain it is a little bit like dating. You know, if you've decided that you really want to get married, then the chances of like going from meeting someone in a bar and getting their phone number to getting married in one night, it just doesn't happen, you know, unless it's like reality TV show.
Yeah.
You go through that whole, perhaps you meet someone and you start to, you know, you get their phone number, you agree to go for coffee, there may be dinner, and then you start building a relationship. And at some point down the line, you know, you make the commitment. And, you know, buying something from, you know, an online store is it's not as big a commitment as getting married, but people need that same time to get to know you, get to trust you. I mean, it depends a little bit on the product. You know, if it's something that's an expensive purchase or very technical. I was talking to a photographer this morning, and you know, I know at some point I'm going to crack and pay a silly amount of money for a digital, you know, DSLR camera that I don't really need, and I'm not going to impulse buy. You know, I'm going to be off researching and all that kind of thing. And so when it's product based, it's often about building up product knowledge. When it's buying from perhaps a person for like a service, it's actually feeling enough confidence in someone and kind of developing trust before you'll buy. And there's nothing new about this. It's how people have always done business. Like I grew up in a really, really rural area, like a tiny, like my entire like school from like first grade to 10th grade was like 25 pupils. So it's really, really little. And it was always very much within locally. You knew who you did and didn't do business with, and kind of news traveled around. And so this is it, but just like on the internet. And you know, the advantage is it's scalable. You know, it takes you beyond being able to sell to like your nearest, just everyone who lives locally. You can sell around the world. And you can also, it's scalable. It's automatic. It happens while you sleep. And yeah.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing, just that it's online. And you can do this in different ways. For example, you can retarget people who have clicked to your website, people who have signed up or purchased something. But usually you have to build the relationship first, the foundation first. And it usually goes a lot of testing to have well-converting Facebook ads. But how can we target our Facebook ads and optimize the audience for the Facebook ads to get as good results as possible? Can you hear me?
Can you? Yeah, I can now. You all froze up for a second.
Okay, so what you said was really good about how you have to build the relationship first, and it's the same either way, online or offline.
Yeah.
And with Facebook, it makes it a lot more easier, and you can do this in different ways, either through clicks or if someone subscribing or signing up to something or purchasing anything. And it usually goes a lot of testing to how well your Facebook ads will convert. But how can we target our Facebook ads and optimize the audience to get better results?
Yeah, sure. I think so. I've just moved around. The sun moving here in the background. I think retargeting is great because it's one of the simplest ways for people to get going with Facebook ads. I think Facebook is a massive topic and it can be quite complicated. And you get people could get really bogged down in like the targeting and choosing the correct audiences. And the remarketing campaigns are the simplest because in effect, you've just got to drop a tiny bit of code onto your own website, link that, which kind of links your website into your Facebook ad account. And then once your audiences start building, when you go to create an ad within Facebook, you literally just choose, as your ad audience, like your website custom audience. So everyone who's visited your website in the last 30 days, everyone who's visited your website in the last 180. So it's super simple from a targeting point of view. And as a kind of rule of thumb, I mean, I hate making really broad statements because I think it's the quickest way to make yourself look like a fool online. But if I was having to bet on whether an ad campaign would work or not, I would say that sending traffic, sending an advert to a website custom audience would be way more effective than having to do one to like cold traffic who've never visited your site in the first place. And I'm saying websites here because that is the most common sort, but you can also now build audiences from phone numbers. So if you've got cell phones or mobile phones here in Europe, you can do it from email addresses, and you can also, fairly new one is people who've engaged on your Facebook page as well. So there's a lot of there's a lot of kind of ways to do it. But going back to the dating scenario, someone who's giving you their phone number, or someone who's agreed to have a drink with you at the bar, is way more likely to go out on a date with you than just walking up to some complete random stranger on the dance floor, which would probably get you slapped, to be honest. So, despite what the kind of professional matchmakers would let you, have So it's a way people have shown interest, and you're kind of focusing your time, your ad budget on people who are most likely to convert.
So let's talk a little bit about creating the perfect Facebook ad, and what goes into that when it comes to design and copy for the perfect Facebook ad.
Oh gosh, that's another your tough question, and the answer is it really depends, because it can be completely different on like your audience. And so it's a case of, if I was speaking to you and you've got one sort of business and I'm speaking to someone else, it's very different Facebook ads that might work for you. So I think the kind of core is first of all, your Facebook ad needs to reflect, your kind of overall brand and your message. There's, and I don't think that it needs to be really complicated. But if you have got a certain way that you speak to people, the way you perhaps write blogs, the way you stand up and give a talk, the way you deal with your customers, if you've got a physical business and they come in the door or they ring, the people should feel this kind of consistency. And this a little bit goes back to my time at vet school. Like we think of ourselves as humans, but we're mammals, and so we react in a very similar way to animals. So there are a few things from the kind of world of nature that can act as like good rules for Facebook ads. And one is to not like, if you've got where you've got a Facebook ad and it's completely different in language and color schemes and graphics to like the landing page you're taking someone to, then generally that's an ad that you tend to see doesn't perform very well. And, and in sort of marketers would turn around and say that's because there's a lack of consistency in your messaging. But if you went to speak to a zoologist, they would turn around and say, well, what's actually happening is the human has like hit the click button on Facebook. They've gone elsewhere. And I know they're not in any danger. No one's going to, like a lion isn't going to jump out of like the savannah in Africa and eat you on a landing page. But our brains are still programmed to keep us safe in that way. And if you're if you're an animal and you suddenly find yourself in a scenario that is very different to what you expect, you'll see, like I've got horses, and if you bring them in from the field somewhere where they walk every day, and if something's different, it frightens them because that's what keeps them alive, like in the wild. And so for humans, it's the same. So it's keeping that consistency between, your Facebook ad should reflect where you're sending them to, whether that's ringing you, whether that's sending it to a landing page, that kind of thing. So that's one good rule. And the second has to do with eyes, which again, similar reason. If you were running an advert, if I took a screenshot of you right now, that would be a much better advert than perhaps one that's a little bit artful, where you're kind of looking over your shoulder off into the distance, kind of pulling some some kind of pose again, because it's he's going to practice now. Yeah. So that sort of image, which is something where if you perhaps go and see a headshot photographer, they're looking at angles, they're looking at lighting, and they're looking at getting just a really good photo. but again, as humans, we react really well to eyes. So this straight to the camera shot can be a good one. So those are two like really, really broad tips. The main thing is it needs to make sense, and then you just need to test. This is like the beauty of digital. It would really, really frighten me to work in a traditional ad agency in perhaps say 1970 or something, where you were booking TV ads on massive print ad campaigns, and you had one shot to get it right. You couldn't really. You had maybe a little focus group, and then that was it. You've just spent $500,000 of your client's money on an ad campaign with no idea really if it's going to work, and also not having the ability to change. So that's the thing really with Facebook. I think it's really about the testing, which of course you can do.
And that's why we see these kind of pictures all the time, either on Facebook ads, on other kind of ads, or even on websites and on blog sites. We see these kind of pictures, and you can use them to convert better with Facebook ads, and you can adapt your copy to your own voice and get your message through in your unique way. Because even if people click and then they come to a website where there's nothing similar with the ad that they clicked on, they will click away. And if that doesn't match, then you paid for nothing. So you have to have everything in sync with your voice, your message, and who you are, and sync that with the audience you want to reach. Yeah.
And I think this is actually where small businesses can often have the advantage. And I think this kind of medium, like we're recording this today and we're doing video. And I think video is a great way to communicate, because it's very hard to not get the true impression of someone on a video. And I think kind of businesses traditionally were, even if they weren't a big corporate business, had this kind of obsession that I must be really ultra professional and very, very bland to me. It's actually very boring, not inject personality into business. And I think things are really changing, and especially as the millennials come through, and then even the generation below millennials, which I'm kind of losing track of what they're Generation Z, who are so savvy. They understand as well about monetization and vloggers getting money to promote things, and they've got this real sensitivity to, is this authentic or not online? So if you can be, if you can kind of keep a theme going through, be authentic and test, you won't go far wrong.
Yeah, and video definitely helps you with that. It helps you be more personal, and I think that's why video has such a big impact as it has right now. And I'm actually moving towards Facebook video ads right now. It's something that I'm working with, so it's perfect that you mentioned this. But before we hit the last part of the interview, tell us where people can find you online to connect more with you.
Yeah, sure, of course. So my agency is blacktypedigital.com. So it's the color black, then TYPE, and then digital.com. And then there's something which is linked up on there, something brand new, which is Digital Aces, because I'm really passionate about helping small businesses get to grips with digital. And there's a lot of businesses that need help, but perhaps can't afford or doesn't actually justify hiring a digital agency compared to the size of their ad budget. So Digital Aces is a Facebook group, and then there's a series of training courses that just help small businesses to get to grips with the world of digital. And that's the best place to connect with me. Or if you just look at Christina Jones on Facebook, you'll find me.
Perfect.
If I'm not on a horse, I'm normally on Facebook. So the bad habit.
That's perfect. And it will be linked below this interview so people can reach out to you and talk to you a little bit more if they want to. But it's time for the last part, my favorite part. It's called the Unexpected 3, where I will ask you 3 random questions. Are you ready?
Go for it.
So number 1, what is one of your favorite resources or online tools right now that you are using?
Oh, it's a fairly new one. So only launched in January, which is Connectio, which is a really nifty tool for getting a lot of micro targeting into Facebook ads. And that's something where if you're an absolute beginner, you don't need it. Do not spend your money I'm probably going to get a really stroppy email now from the app creator telling people don't buy it. But if you're spending $500, $1,000 upwards a month, it will very easily save you the money that you're spending on the software. So that's my favorite sort of super new tool. And I'd probably say my other one is Asana, which is just project management, because if something's not in Asana, it just doesn't happen now in my world. That's how I'm able to move to a completely different country and take my entire team virtual, because we communicate through Asana all day long.
Nice. She didn't give you just one, but two tools that she's using.
Breaking the rules there.
Question number 2. What is your favorite business book?
Oh, this is really tough, because what you can't see behind me is about 20 foot of shelves full of books. Probably the one I enjoy rereading the most is David Ogilvy on advertising. And so this is really old school. Like if you've never heard of David Ogilvy, he was like behind, one of the biggest, most famous like ad shop owners. He's sort of like the Gary Vaynerchuk of like the 70s and the 80s. And in this book, he goes through lots of classic advertisements. So most of them from the 1950s, the 1960s, and some the 1970s, and just dissects why they were good and why they weren't. And it's a very entertaining read, more entertaining than perhaps it sounds. And now the kind of interesting as things are flipping back round, where we're getting back into storytelling, we're getting back into like long format adverts, and being very much content led. And when you read there, there's this amazing advert in there for Mercedes, which, me explaining it does not do, 1% of justice for how good this advert is. So just Google David Ogilvy, Mercedes, or I'll make sure you've got the link to pop below. It's a really, really good book.
Perfect. So Christina, the third and last question. What is one tip or one action step you would give to the listeners when it comes to Facebook ads?
It would be to concentrate on one thing at a time. So, get one campaign up and running and get that making you some money before you go off to the next. I think the danger is that there's so many people talking and teaching about Facebook ads. There's so many different tools you can use. There's so many different options of like adverts that Facebook gives you. Keep things super, super simple. Just stick to using a newsfeed ad and get going, but don't overcomplicate it to start with. And then once that's working and making you some money, you can spend a bit more of the money you've made testing something new. And then that's how you build up very big, very complicated campaigns. But the really important step is just to get started and not, don't freak out when you see someone like me who says, oh yeah, I've got a 20-step Facebook campaign with message autoresponders and video ads and all this and that. You can make this work with one ad if need be. Just get started.
Focus on one thing. Don't overanalyze stuff. Christina, I think that's a perfect way to end this interview. Thank you for joining me.
Pleasure.
And thank you all for tuning in to today's show.